Have you ever wondered what it feels like to live at the edge of the world? Far from the city noise, no car horns, no crowded streets, just sea breeze and the sound of waves as your daily companions? Believe it or not, places like that still exist in America. Quiet, hidden coastlines far from the tourist radar, where time moves slower and life feels simpler. From misty fishing villages in Maine to tropical islands in Hawaii, here are remote paradises that are not only breathtaking, but make you feel as if you've rediscovered peace itself. There's something quiet yet powerful about Lubec. Perched at the easternmost edge of the United States, this tiny coastal town faces the Atlantic, just a few miles from the Canadian border. It's the first place in the mainland US to see the sunrise. With a population of under 300, most of its residents live off the sea as fishermen, lighthouse keepers, or owners of small inns. At its tip stands the West Quoddy Head Lighthouse, a red and white striped beacon marking the easternmost point in the country. Across the water, you can see Canada, so close, yet it feels a world away. There are no entertainment centers, no traffic, just cold sea air, deep blue ocean, and silence echoing off rocky shores. From Maine's chilly edge, we head across the Pacific to Hāna, a small village on the eastern coast of Maui. The only way to reach it is via the famous Road to Hāna, an 84-kilometer stretch with over 620 curves and 59 narrow bridges winding through rainforest and steep cliffs. The village has just 605 residents, most of whom still rely on small-scale farming and fishing. There are no large hotel chains here, no crowds of tourists. Lava rock beaches like Waianapanapa reveal jet black sand, while Wailua Falls spills quietly into a lush, hidden tropical valley. From tropical Maui, we cross over to the Gulf of Mexico, landing in Cedar Key, a tiny island town on Florida's western coast. With a population of around 761, the only way in is a narrow 38-mile road from the mainland. There are no sprawling resorts or busy highways here, just old-style wooden homes and fishing boats docked at a peaceful marina. Life here moves slowly. Locals still rely on oysters and crabs pulled straight from the bay. Many call Cedar Key the true old Florida, a place where modernization stopped at the shoreline, leaving behind a timeless coastal charm that's calm, shaded, and feels like a living piece of the past. Tucked away in the southeastern corner of Rhode Island, Little Compton feels like a place time forgot. This small town is surrounded by green pastures, apple orchards, and quiet rocky beaches. With a population of just around 3,500, there's no bustling downtown, just an old church, a local bakery, and a weekly farmer's market. Its most well-known beach, Goosewing Beach, is protected as a nature reserve. No rows of umbrellas or beach vendors here, just soft sand and the sound of the waves. Many homes date back to the 18th century, preserving that classic New England charm. In Little Compton, time doesn't rush, it simply drifts. If you're looking for a beach that still feels truly untouched, St. George Island might be one of the best-kept secrets on the Gulf of Mexico. This 45-kilometer-long barrier island is connected to the mainland by a single bridge, and crossing it feels like entering another world. Few people live here, and most make a living by fishing or renting out beach houses to loyal summer visitors. At night, the skies are pitch black, revealing stars that seem to fall right into the sea. St. George isn't the place for entertainment. It's a place to embrace silence, the kind that's hard to come by in modern-day Florida. Cutler isn't just a village on a map. It's a slice of life that's barely changed in decades. Around 500 people live here on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean, relying on lobster and the salty sea air to get by. There are no big restaurants, no tourist centers, just a small harbor and winding roads that lead to craggy cliffs. In summer, the sun doesn't fully rise until around 5 in the morning, lighting up the thick fog over Cutler Coast Public Reserve land, one of Maine's wildest natural areas. Locals call it the Bold Coast because of the dramatic cliffs that plunge straight into the ocean. In Cutler, silence isn't just part of the setting, it's part of the identity. Roughly 10 miles off the coast of Maine lies a small island called Monhegan, a place where cars are banned and life moves to the rhythm of the waves. Fewer than 70 people live here year-round, mostly fishermen and artists. The island is only accessible by ferry from Booth Bay Harbor or Port Clyde, and even the journey there feels like an escape from the modern world. Since the early 1900s, Monhegan has been known as an artist's colony. Painters like Edward Hopper and Rockwell Kent once lived here, drawn by the island's light and ever-present fog. Footpaths lead to dramatic cliffs that rise 150 feet above the Atlantic Ocean. And at night, only the stars and the sound of the sea remain. Monhegan isn't a place to see, it's a place to simply be. Bandon sits on Oregon's southern coast, where the Pacific Ocean crashes against towering sea stacks that rise from the mist like ancient silhouettes. It's a small town of about 3,000 people, but it feels much quieter than that number suggests. Iconic rock formations like Face Rock and Cat and Kittens aren't just landmarks. They're part of the oral history passed down by the native Coquille people. The air here is always crisp and salty, and ocean winds carry a blanket of fog that wraps around the cliffs almost every morning. While tourists sometimes arrive in summer, Bandon still feels distant, not because it's hard to reach, but because its very soul seems to resist crowds. Among the dark sands and cold surf, Bandon feels like a world deliberately left untouched. Gualala rests on the northern edge of Sonoma County, where the redwood forest meets the crashing Pacific. Getting there means driving along the twisting cliffs of Highway 1, a road as breathtaking as the destination itself. This tiny town is home to around 2,000 people, most living in wooden houses tucked quietly among the towering trees. The air is cool and damp, and coastal fog can roll in suddenly, reducing visibility to just a few feet. Gualala is known among artists and writers as a place to disappear for the right reasons, not to run away, but to truly be still. Trinidad may be small, with a population of just around 317 people, but it holds a unique title. It's the least populated city in all of California. Perched on a bluff nearly 200 feet high in northern Humboldt County, Trinidad overlooks an ocean view so vast it almost feels surreal. Below the cliffs lies Trinidad Bay, a natural harbor that's been in use since Spanish ships arrived in 1775, making it one of the oldest ports on the West Coast. Today, the bay is dotted with small fishing boats and seabirds circling through the mist. Just beyond the town center, a trail at Trinidad Head leads hikers to a lookout point where, in winter, you can spot migrating whales. Tiny, quiet, and steeped in history, Trinidad holds on to its charm without needing to shout. This small island is only accessible by ferry from the mainland, making it feel like a world apart. Once a hideout for the infamous pirate Blackbeard, who met his end near these waters in a 1718 battle with British forces, Ocracoke Island now lives a much quieter, almost frozen-in-time existence. Only about 650 residents live here among wooden cottages, small shops, and sandy roads with no traffic lights. What's truly unique is that many locals still speak a rare dialect called Hoy-Toyder English, a coastal version of English that blends West Country British with Southern American accents. When night falls, the soft glow of the Ocracoke Lighthouse, built in 1823, becomes the island's lone beacon, standing watch over the endless, silent sea. This place is often called America's geographic anomaly. Point Roberts is the only part of the U.S. mainland that's completely cut off from the rest of the country, located just below the 49th parallel at the tip of a Canadian peninsula. To reach it, Americans must cross the Canadian border twice or fly in by small plane. With a population of around 1,200, many choose to live here for its profound quiet and stunning views of the Georgia Strait. But life here isn't always simple. The nearest high school is in Bellingham, a 2-hour journey that includes 4 border checks. Even more unusual, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Point Roberts became completely cut off from the U.S. when the Canadian border closed, forcing residents to rely on air deliveries for basic supplies. This beach isn't known for crowds. It's known for its incredible length. Stretching nearly 28 miles, Long Beach is one of the longest beaches in the United States. What makes it even more unique is that it's one of the few beaches in the world where cars are allowed to drive directly on the sand, a tradition that dates back to the early 20th century. Though often foggy and windswept, the atmosphere is calming and peaceful. It's also home to the World Kite Museum, the only museum in the U.S. entirely dedicated to kites. Every August, the International Kite Festival fills the skies with colorful flying fabric. At the southern end of the beach stands Cape Disappointment Lighthouse, the oldest active lighthouse on the Pacific Northwest coast. Located at the far northwestern tip of the continental U.S., Neah Bay is home to the Maka tribe, who have lived here for thousands of years. This isn't just a fishing village, it's a cultural and historical center with deep roots. Visitors can stop by the Maka Museum, which houses artifacts from the Ozette archaeological site, often called the Pompeii of the Northwest, because of how well its ancient treasures were preserved in mud for centuries. The sea around Neah Bay is wild and unforgiving, with steep cliffs and crashing waves. At its edge lies Cape Flattery, the westernmost point in the continental United States, where the Pacific Ocean meets the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Perched high on cliffs above the Pacific, Mendocino is often wrapped in thick fog that makes it look like a living painting. Victorian-style wooden homes stand among wild gardens and narrow stone streets. There are no big chains here, just small inns, art galleries, and the endless sound of the sea. Known as a creative retreat since the 1950s, Mendocino offers a quiet that isn't lonely, but rather a rare kind of peace, especially in California. The town even served as a filming location for the TV series Murder, She Wrote, giving it fame without losing its soulful stillness.